I don't know what happened. All right, well, I guess we'll just start because the song didn't work. Welcome to the UFO and Time Travel radio show. This is your host, Renato. And on the line, I have Arron McCollum, experiencer. I don't know, Arron, I kind of consider you an experiencer. You know, from what I saw on your interviews, it didn't look like you volunteered to do what you did, sort of. But you know, like it says on the show description, as far as, you know, from what I understand, you know, you participated in like Black Ops, and you know, and you have family ties to the whole situation, and you know, and now, and you know, I was just talking to my brother about that. You know, they just dropped you off in an airport with no memory, which is just amazing, you know. But anyway, Arron, I'll let you go. What would you like to cover? What, you know, I guess what would be your main topic? I mean, I'm mostly going to ask you some time travel questions because that's pretty much my main sort of focus.
I guess but, you know, the thing is, and well, I just want to say first of all, Renato, thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be on shows. I was looking at your blog talk, and
well, thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like that a lot of it seems to be more of like open discussions that you have, and I also understand that I think I had actually posted the number incorrectly on the event page that I did on Facebook, but it would definitely be great to, you know, if people want to call in and ask any questions, because, I mean, there's a lot that I talk about, not just with my own experiences, but really what kind of launched things off was, you know, I mean, yes, you know, in this community I'm labeled as a whistleblower, but, you know, I really see myself more than that, you know, besides being a fellow human who just wants the truth revealed and disclosure to happen and, you know, things like that. I really see myself as more of like, you know, a truth seeker or a light worker, or someone that's just trying to do my part, as many are as you are with the show that you do. So I guess it would just be a matter of, you know, what you want to ask me, and then we can just go from there.
Okay, cool. Well, the first thing I want to ask you is, when it came to the whole time traveling part of it, how, you know, was there like anywhere in your memories, is there any, was it nothing for, I'm sorry, man, I'm getting caught up. Basically, I want to know, how far back have you gone? How far forward have you gone? And were there any limitations and stuff like that?
Well,
if you know.
That's a tough question, and as I've expressed on other interviews I've done,
yes,
you know, I can't, you know, I wish I could deliver, you know, physical, absolute proof to people, and I have to express that I'm unable to do that because, you know, I don't have access to the records that would show that. So all I can do is, you know, explain what memories I have, and many of these memories that I'm speaking of are quite cloudy, and unfortunately I haven't been able to get a lot of confirmation. I had confirmation, so to speak, from some sources, but those sources since that time either won't communicate with me anymore or have literally disappeared. However means that happened, I do not know.
Gotcha.
As far back, I mean, there's a memory during the 60s, but due to some current things that have come to light, some new information that's been brought forth to me that I haven't had a chance to dig in yet, I really don't want to go too much into that. As far as going into the future, I don't know. I don't know if that ever happens because there's a lot of chunks I don't remember. Mainly what I was a part of wasn't really time travel. The operation I was a part of was a black operation for more. Well, there was a lot of stuff that went on underground in deep military bases, but most of it was actually off planet with the secret space program, the clandestine side of things. So, I mean, I can talk about some things with time travel, and what I know from my own research and things that I've learned, and I can explain somewhat of what was going on in Project Seagate. But mostly, the only thing I can really explain is, what actually happened to me and what I definitely know. And, that's why I express that these such things that I'm talking about are more, some very...
I got you. They're all...
I'm really trying to dig into.
You know what? That was a bad question then. You know what?
Oh, you know what? Excuse me a second. It's not a bad question. There are no such thing as bad questions. I'm just trying to give you the best answer that I can provide.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I know from what I've listened to on your interviews that you had from Project Camelot interviews that you brought up the two guys that you said that you traveled back in time and you ended up in a jungle with them in like a Vietnam type setting. Did you say that? Yeah,
and that was expressing through my memories. But again, there are some things that have come up recently, and all I was doing during that interview was expressing what I remembered, and also not just what I remembered, but from witness testimonial, because the people that were giving me this witness testimonial. One of them I still absolutely rely on. He's a definite, valuable source simply because he was there when it happened. But the other source I've gotten this information from, I'm hesitant to say this, but I need to rethink of what this person has expressed towards me. I'm not above or beyond, going back and saying, okay, well, I said this, but I was not completely correct, and this is why. And that may in time happen, but I'm not saying that did happen. It certainly did. It's just a matter of getting all the facts straightened out. Gotcha. In other words, you're just disclosing there's a possibility you could be wrong, which is fine. That's perfect. One question I did want to ask. My experience back in the 60s, I'm not saying that it didn't happen because I have a person who was there, not by means of time travel, but was there physically at a young age, in his early 20s, who I reunited with, so to speak. So the problem is with this kind of situation is that I want to deliver as much accuracy as possible, not because I'm worried about people thinking that I'm, untruthful or whatnot, but because it's an obligation that I have bestowed upon myself to deliver the best facts that I can to people to give them an understanding of what's going on. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm sure this community does, because all you can do is be as straightforward and forthright as possible about everything, right or wrong. You're just saying what's on your mind and what's there, and I respect that, and I know exactly where you're coming from. And thank you. The question I have for you, too, is, what I've been doing myself is I think I've had my own experiences. That's why I do the show. That's why I'm here. And I think my experience revolves in a big way around time travel and interplanetary space travel. And I'm constantly looking for corroborations between my story and someone else's, because what? I can't help think to myself, if I could time travel just in a daydreaming sense, I constantly think to myself, what would I do? Where would I go? Why? Why bother doing it, And to me, my only thing is I personally wouldn't mind being able to verify things in history. I wouldn't mind being able to verify what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Well, I was just going to say, real quick, verification is always good to have. In fact, it's very important, not necessarily for other people, although that is important, but really for oneself, to get peace of mind and to, in a way, get closure. that is what's so important about this collective that we are as a people. You're not the only one that's told this to me. And indeed, Renato, time travel can happen by many different means. Astral projection, even remote viewing, bilocation remote viewing. SRI, the Stanford Research Institute, did extensive research with remote viewers back in the late 70s and early 80s, and they weren't just remote viewing on places around the world. They were doing remote viewing on past, future, and off-planet events. There are people now,
I believe
today, many I know, that go into more of an astral world where they're astral projection in their sleep, sometimes even fully awake, when they find themselves in a time or a place that is not current. These things do happen.
But are they, so in other words, they're finding themselves, they didn't exactly control it, they're just kind of there?
Some
I'd love to
people
say, hey, you know what,
to,
if that's true, if you know these people who can do this, I can give them a specific time and location to answer the question of what was I abducted and came back 6 days later. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I'd love
I'm
it if
more
somebody
than
could tell
happy
me.
to assist you with that.
Because that's what happened to me. One day, I went to work. I was a security guard. I was a heavy metal dude in the band. I lived in my parents' house. I had no cares in the world. I'm taking a night shift. My brother and our best friends wanted to go out, and they called me at midnight when I was supposed to get off, and they said, hey, can you stay till 4? And then that night, I was gone. My car was there. All my stuff was there. I was gone for 6 days. My mom reported me to police. I wake up in that trailer 6 days later. I have no idea where I am.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
When you woke up, a couple things. Did you have any unusual marks on your body?
Yes.
Any unusual discoloration?
Yes.
Did you feel maybe dizzy, extremely dehydrated, maybe even a little bit in vertigo, feeling like disoriented? Did you feel really disoriented?
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea how I got to where I was because I was in, there was 2 trailers, one that I never went in, and one that I did go in, and I woke up in the one I never went in, and I was awoken by guys that worked there supposedly, and it was, and then, with that said, I have all these crazy memories, and the question I wanted to ask you is when you went to go meet those 2, I can't believe their names are on the tip of my tongue. Deegan, what's his name? The 2 guys you mentioned that you went and they knew you. God, I forget the names.
One of them would be Dave Corso.
Right, Dave Corso and the other guy, I forget. Jeez Louise. I've watched all their interviews. I watched every Camelot interview that. Anyway, when you saw these 2 guys, did they put you out on this bridge as a little kid? Were you on this metal bridge in the middle of the jungle that had no sense, no rhyme or reason? It was almost like a platform that just not like the kind you'd go hunting with. It was weird. It looked like a metal just bridge in the middle of the woods.
And as far as that, I can't have any recollection of being on a bridge. Most of the memories I have it's kind of like watching a movie, but all you see are frame shots, and they're very scattered. Very scattered. A lot of my memories are like that. There are memories that move fluid in motion, like I can almost replay back the film, but there's a lot of memories that are kind of distorted and in little blips here and there. So, no, I don't have one of that, but I just wanted to get back real quick to your experience as far as waking up in this trailer. I assume that you were in the same clothing that you wore 6 days prior?
Yeah.
I had because do you feel, and again, I just have to ask, and this can only be based on your intuition, do you feel that this was a malevolent or or benevolent abduction?
Well, to be honest with you, I feel pretty certain that it was actually just me.
Okay.
Dressed up.
That you
dressed
yourself
up
somehow went into a time shift, so to speak.
No, it's more like it's a little complicated, but I'll try to explain it best. 2 Braves came to get me. Like I tried to play sleeping, and they kind of came and tapped on my shoulder and said, let's go. But they did. But of course, no words came out of their mouth. They said it telepathically. And then I was scared shitless, and they walked me down to where their craft was parked, and they brought me in, and there was just more graves, and they had more stuff they had to do, and I was just there for the ride, and they kind of toyed with me a little, and I heard them I could hear them talking even though there was no sound, and one of them tried to even explain. They kept trying to explain to me that they were me, and I was like, whatever, yeah, right, and it turned, and then the bottom line is, I know you heard those stories about people. You even said it yourself. That's why your story resonates with me. You remember how you said that they had people that their astral body would come out, and then they would possess a doll body?
Yeah.
Just a body, like the Avatar movie. Remember how you said that?
It's under the Omega Project, yes.
Right, yes, exactly. Well, that's exactly how it worked for me. And, they came and, it was sort of, it's kind of, it's a very complicated story because there's a lot of, loophole-ish type things to it. But the bottom line is...
I think I'm painting a better picture of what you're talking about, but I'll wait till you get done explaining, and I'll see what I can bring to the table on this.
Somehow, some way, me from the future hooks up with whoever and goes back and puts me through all these, sick missions. And can I ask you something? Do you have any memories at all of being in a round-shaped, gray, almost metallic-like room with just these weird instruments and, grays and you're dressed up all in black, like you said?
Well, I've been in a lot of, you could say, gray rooms.
You described that a million times.
In kind of like a hospital-type setting, I experienced that as a child and many, many times when I was in active service and even since then.
Right.
But it's been for numerous reasons on why I experienced that. But, yes, those things do occur.
Right. See, you know what it is? My own experience, I feel like I just started to feel like I was basically trying to go back and verify things or to alter things. For example, I remember when they first got me, and I didn't believe anything, and I didn't trust anyone. I felt like I was being held captive, but it was more self trepidation, where I was scaring myself into being the way I was. You know what I mean? If I don't go along with it, they're gonna kill me. I just constantly thought that, and I didn't believe. And I just remember them putting me on a table and plugging some sick machine into me where I felt like I rised up out of my body. And then it was like another me from the future, let's say, came and took over my younger body and used it like a doll, you know what I'm saying? And then put my soul into a gray body. And then sent me to go abduct myself later on. And I know it sounds crazy, but...
It was no, it doesn't sound crazy. So basically, you're saying that it almost feels as if not your body, but your conscious, your soul, in a way, was placed into another vessel. As you say, it was a gray, or am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Well, the technology is there; it does exist. The only thing that we have to ask ourselves with this, and the reason I'm asking this question that I'm going to pose to you is just because of the experiences that I have and things I'm aware of.
Right.
Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is the case with you, but sometimes military abductions happen in such a way, and now whether it is strictly the military, or if it was a military abduction, which was a co-op with the Greys, or if it was just a regular, alien abduction, but with a military abduction, things are done in such a way, sometimes, a lot of times actually, where things are implanted into that said person to make them believe that it was an alien abduction. Now, I'm not saying that this is what happened with you. I'm just simply putting that out there because of what I know. However, when it's a co-op, when it's a military and alien abduction, well, that's a whole nother story. I mean, there's a lot of things we have to dig into with that. The one thing that I would say with you that I would highly recommend is having someone, and I mean, unless you can do this yourself, it's much better if you have someone else do it, someone that you can trust that actually knows what they're doing, is do a reading on you through bilocation remote viewing. I wouldn't recommend going into a hypnotic state because that could induce really memories that, you don't really want to go, discover under a hypnotic state. But having someone that you trust in a private setting do a bilocation remote viewing reading on you is something that I would highly recommend to help you get some answers and maybe even a little bit of closure on this matter.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, I don't think there is any closure. I feel like, just like, I guess you and many of the other people, I feel like I'm waiting for something. I don't feel like the story's over. I feel like
that makes sense. Almost like it's a continuation.
Yeah, I feel like this is part of it, And the reason why I'm asking you these very specific questions is because when I watched your interviews on Project Camelot and when I listened to you speak to her last name's Eisenhower. I forget her first name. You did a show, your own show with her. A lot of things.
Laura Eisenhower. Yes.
Right. A lot of things pop into my mind. Like when I'm listening, I'm waiting for that projection in my mind, that image to pop up. That might be a glimpse of something I might have experienced too, or like. I'm basically trying to figure out if it wasn't like, let's say, a planted memory, right? If it was reality, if it really happened, what I'm trying to figure out is if our paths crossed. I mean, do you realize I could be wrong because I don't know of any others, but I'm pretty sure you're like the youngest whistleblower, quote unquote, right now. I mean, everybody else is like, no offense to them, but they're like retirement age, and you're the only like 30-year-old guy who's coming out saying, yo, I was put through this, and from what I got from your interviews, they told you this is what you're doing. You didn't say, hey, can I do this?
No.
Hey guys, I want to be
I didn't
Superman.
have a choice. No. I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't, that I wasn't by any means, 3 years old, and my grandmother saying, "Oh, hey, Aaron, we're gonna take you to this facility and drown you. It's gonna be a lot of fun." No, I mean, I certainly did enough for that, or maybe I did in a prior life, and I knew it was coming. I've heard a lot of people tell me that this was basically my soul contract, and everything that I did at that time is led to what I'm doing now.
The reason why I was so excited to talk to you is because I feel like some of the things you say corroborate with my memories, right? Like I listened, I kind of like skimmed through the interview the first time in Project Camelot, and then when you brought up Mars and went into such in-depth detail about possibly going there and, doing your thing there that you had to do, whatever, I got questions like, do you remember big, round, open, inside mountain caverns that were like, pink colors and like turquoise? And, lots of people eating and, like, looking all athletic and stuff and just shit like that. You know what I mean? Pardon my French.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There were I said, there's a lot of memories, and yes, one of the facilities I was at several facilities, and one of the bases I was at was quite large and open. I was only there temporary because it was a transition point, and what I mean by that is that basically going to this facility to do a briefing, gear up, and go. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time at too many places. I was constantly on the go.
Of course.
Never really was able to settle down. Couldn't really, you know, lay a foundation of where everyone was out. I was constantly aboard. Even at Pro-C, the Project Seagate facility I was at in the Caribbean, that was my home base for about 5 or 6 years. But even then, I was all over the place. I mean, it's no different than the military is normally, where you have someone that maybe their home base is Fort Hood, but you know, they're going to Iraq, they're going to Germany, maybe they're going to Africa or wherever, and they're constantly gone. It's just that was my home base. But a lot of the operations I did, that was the hub where I traveled from.
Yep.
And not just on this planet, but elsewhere as well.
Tell me, do you have any memories of being like, I want to say Area 51, but maybe not, maybe a little over, maybe a little north. Basically, what I think I remember is they were sides of mountains opening up like garage doors. That like they would just like, kind of come out.
That. That's interesting you say that. North of, I know where Area 51's at. My good buddy Dave Corsa lives in Pahrump, Nevada, which is south of Area 51.
Okay.
Let me just share two stories with you of experiences I had. One when I was a child, and one that happened towards the end of last year. I think it was in December. It was in December. Anyways, the one was a child. I have memories of twice heading to Northern California.
Okay.
Once was at a place I've now learned was Yosemite Park, the area of Yosemite National Park, and the other one was Lake Tahoe. Now, all I can tell you is what I remember and what I've gotten confirmed from a sibling of mine who I reunited with earlier this year. And I talked about this in some of the interviews. The incidents that occurred at Yosemite Park was a lot of cold water exposure for about 7 or 8 days in a row, over and over and over again. And what I remember occurring in Lake Tahoe was just merely being there at a cabin. But so as far as childhood memories, anywhere in that vicinity that was there, I know those are far off. But last year, I'm driving from Los Angeles to Pahrump, Nevada with Dave Corsa. Dave Corsa was actually driving. It was late at night. We're driving on a stretch that is very remote. It's about 57 miles of a straight road with desert on either side. And what we encountered was we saw very large lights. I mean, these lights were very bright. They were lighting up the whole valley. They were on Dave's side, so I look over and we see them, and they were moving around in a very interesting pattern. They did not appear to be like vehicles, and we know there were no roads over there because we've driven there during the day, but these vehicles or these vessels or whatever they were, when you see it like a truck that's driving up around like in the dunes and desert, you can tell when the light goes up and down. These lights were staying straight. And what we saw then was them heading towards the mountains. We saw something that appeared to be opening. They went in and it shut. Giant doors. And then, of course, the entire valley went black again because there's no lights up there.
Right.
There's a lot more than just Area 51 out in that area of Nevada.
Wow.
A lot, actually. Area 51 is more of, there are other bases.
It's commercial.
That are a lot more secretive than what Area 51 does. Not to say Area 51 doesn't have a lot of stuff going on, but it was, you know, sort of made or allowed to be public for a reason.
Well, I'm sure, you know, I mean, from what I understand, they considered going public with it during Reagan's time, or pretty much every president who's been assassinated were the ones who wanted to talk about, you know, extraterrestrials and whatnot, including Abraham Lincoln. He wanted to go investigate underwater bases, and he wanted to build submarines, and, you know, he got assassinated too. But
right.
Anyway,
and a lot of that has been shut up. I mean, even I believe it was. There's been several presidents, and the one that I remember specifically was, I believe it was. And then George Green shared this with me, so I'm explaining something that George Green told me about President Ford. And when President Ford came into office, he basically sat down with his entire administration and several heads of departments, such as the CIA, FBI, and so forth. And he basically said, I want to know everything. I want to know all the secret projects. And during that time, the director of the CIA, which was George H.W. Bush, George Sr.,
right,
had said,
right.
You know, frankly, Mr. President, you don't have the clearance to know.
Yes, I heard this story. Yep.
And what people need to realize is that presidents are only at the middle level of above top secret clearance. There's another, I believe, 16 or 17 levels. I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but they're not the middle of the world. There's so much that goes on that they are not aware of, and they're not even allowed to know.
Right, of course. That's when the whole puppet you know, thing comes into play, where you know they're just puppets. But you know what? I just want to say that thing you saw with Corso with the mountain is sick. That is very interesting. See, throughout all my radio shows, right, what I would basically try to do is when I'd have Bart on with me, and he basically tried to make me jog my memory and ask me like weird questions, or, you know, take me down these sort of turns, and, you know, and I started coming out, I was starting to sort of like have memories like on the spot. And one thing I remember telling him in a past radio show is about the super soldier type people that, you know, I say that they all get saved, that like they all end up on their own planet. And then when Carrie Cassidy, when she said that to you, I was just like, holy shit. Well, pardon my French, but I just couldn't believe it, because she said, yeah, it's heard that some of these people they built are planning on coming here. They're not happy. And I was like, what? You know, I could swear. I said, I didn't deliver it exactly the same way that she did, but I think the message got across. And that's why I'm so happy to see, well, sort of anyway, to see corroborations. Like when I watched your interview, there were so many things that struck me, you know, like you're the first dude who's like covered with tattoos, and to me you're like a heavy metal dude, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, it's weird, you know, like there's more. For a while I felt like the odds were against me, like everybody, you know, I didn't think people were listening to me or thinking of me as any kind of truth. But, you know, I quite frankly didn't care, though. But at the same time, I want to, you know, make sure I'm not nuts. Like, when I'm laying in my bed at night thinking of this crazy stuff, I want to make sure I'm, you know. And somebody told me the most sane people question their own sanity, so that made me feel really good.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing is that I understand. I've gotten a lot of people who've left interesting comments with me, or, you know, send me emails saying, you know, there's no way a guy could be in the military and look that way, or, you know, everything from accusing me to be some meth addict to, you know, someone starving for taking all that garbage, which is completely insane, really, because, well, for one, I didn't come out and start speaking about the things that I knew or that I experienced for a popularity contest. I didn't do it to make friends. I did it because it was at a point in my life where I had once again been completely blacklisted by the military, left homeless, and frankly was pissed off at what they had done to me. Finally pissed off enough to say, you know what, I need to expose what's going on. And, and also on top of it, of course, I didn't have nearly as many tattoos or the ears pierced when I was, in the job that I was doing. That's something I did later on.
Right.
But, I remember you had mentioned earlier about me being one of the youngest whistleblowers. Well, I mean, yes, I know I'm young. I'm 32 now, but there are others out there that have been under similar operations that, either that I've been in communication with that either at this point in time they're not ready to come forth, or they have, but they've been completely ignored. And it's a shame, too, because everyone should have a right to speak their mind and not – I'm not saying that these people are afraid, but I don't blame them for not wanting to come forward simply because look at what the modern media and modern society does. They make these accusations, you're labeled as being crazy.
Absolutely.
There's all this garbage that you have to face doing this. And, see, with me, I lack the basic instinct of fear. I really do. I'm not afraid anymore. I never really have
understand
been, as far as I can remember. So for me to come out and explain these things, I'm just doing it because it's right, and any implications that happen, because then current ones are happening now as we speak with some current events that have recently happened, but that's okay because it's not going to stop me. I will not stop speaking out. I will not stop doing what I'm doing. I will not stop. And anyone that I can assist in any way possible, I am happy to do so. I do not have all the answers, but I have a growing network of amazing people that I can go to find answers, and on top of it, research things for myself.
And to me, that's partially what it's all about. And to me, there's a little bit more of the cool factor where you're basically flipping in the bird saying, you know what, you guys used and abused me for X amount of time. How about that? And let's wait to see what the future. But that's just the New York side of me talking, Well,
it's funny you say that because it's basically what I told the general that I was working for when I was in involuntary recall status, you could say. It's a long story, but I've told that story so many times. But basically, I told him, I said, I made an agreement. I said, you guys leave me alone. I will not only leave the country, I will stay off the grid. I won't own a phone. I won't own the computer, nothing. I will disappear, and you will never see me again. But if you guys bother me one more time, or my family, or do anything to threaten me, I'm going to use all of my training, knowledge, and experience to unleash hell upon all of you and expose you for who you are. 2 weeks later, there was a hit on me, and I sent back a letter, and I said, okay, get ready for it, because here it comes. And
you're still here.
So that's where I'm at now. And it's like I wanted to say this real quick, because I know that there are people listening to this right now who know me, and for anyone who listens to this after the fact, I really want to emphasize on this, on something. Yes, in the community that I'm in, I'm labeled as a whistleblower, but in these days, currently, now, who I am, and even in the past couple of months, I always am happy to come on radio shows like this. And if asked to share past experiences, I will do so. Or if I'm talking about something that is currently going on or may happen, sometimes I have to go back to my past experience with black operations of what I did as far as Project Seagate and Operation Spyglass to help explain current events or what may be taking place. But what I'm really trying to focus on these days, in these past few months, is exposing everything and just allowing myself to be more than just Arron McCollum, the whistleblower, but being Arron McCollum, the fellow human that is acting as a voice, as many are, as we're doing today on the show, to bring forth many things, not just black operations, shadow government, depopulation, but also metaphysics, natural healings, Reiki, the true history. I mean, one of my favorite topics is, what's labeled as forbidden history. This is why I had people on the show such as Michael Tellinger, Michael Cramo, Jonathan Gray, Dr. Brooks Agnew, and more. I know I'm leaving out some, but, because without really knowing what happened in our past, how can we understand how to continue on today, and also never forgetting what happened in the past and currently, so that we don't forget about that and make the same mistakes. So I just see myself now more on the light worker side than a whistleblower, because I'm just trying to deliver the information like many people, like the late great Bill Cooper did, like George Norrie does, like Sam Muggsy does, Kerry Cassidy, Bill Ryan, Jeremiah Duncan, and more.
Right. Oh, Duncan, that's it. Duncan O'Finian was the guy's name I was trying to think of earlier. Sorry about that. You know what? That's why at the beginning of the show, I don't want to call you, I didn't want to call you a whistleblower. To me, you're an experiencer. You didn't ask for it. It was dropped in your lap, and, you were thrown into the boat, or, you know what I'm saying. They were thrown into the I don't know what, the craziness. I do know what you're saying. And, there is a lot of things that I've blown the whistle on, but I wasn't the only person that was blowing the whistle on that. There were others out there that were speaking the same things, and of course, there will always be a side of me that is Arron McCollum, the whistleblower, but I'm trying to meld everything together. I don't consider myself a reporter, if you will. I'm just, here's how I look at it. This is the best way I can break it down. Tell me your story.
Still connections I have within the military and the military-industrial complex in several agencies in this country and other parts of the world. I have secret sources that must remain anonymous, but also the training, the experience, and everything that I learned from a child, I'm using that to dig in, to find information, to bring to light certain things, and also working with people like Jeff Harvey, Dr. Brooks Agnew, Dave Corso, Laura Eisenhower, Andrew Passaggio, Alfred Weber, George Green, and more, to take all that information and really put it into a collective melting pot and put all the pieces together and deliver that and simply lay that on a table for everyone so that they can dissect it through themselves and see what truth resonates with them, because what resonates with one person may not resonate with another person. That's okay. That's okay, because is it waking up both those people, or is it helping them increase and carry out their awakening so that they can carry out with others? If that's something that I have accomplished, then I'm happy with that.
I hear you, man. It's all worth it if that one accomplishment comes out of it. It totally is. Well, you know what? I'll tell you right now, you definitely accomplished something with me. You got my ears open, and as soon as I watched the first little bit of your original first interview, I think in January with Project Camelot, I don't know. I heard you loud and clear, man, because what I look for is the similarities. Your story is very similar to the other guys, and everybody describes it in their own way, and there's a lot of root commonalities between all your stories. And that's corroboration, and that's what I look for, and I see a lot of it with your story and theirs. And I mean, since yours is the newest, yours is subject to the biggest scrutiny, But because anybody can turn around and say, hey, he got this piece from that and this from that and this from that. But
of course,
I don't. That's not all I'm looking for. I'm looking for the little things and the stuff that puts a picture in my head. Like even if you didn't describe it, just by you saying,
some documents,
like when you started talking about the undersea bases and all the different types of races, alien races that were there, and all that crazy stuff. Because see, in my story, right, I wanted to get away from these guys. Who do you think I ran to? I ran to the American military. And then what do you think happened? I was turned into a bitch. I mean, I remember, I don't know who did the interview, but I think it was this guy who called himself Larry Soulless. He said that they kept souls in golden cages or in golden rooms that they were made completely of gold. And that's where they kept astral bodies, like in jail. And when he talked about that, I saw it loud and clear. Like I saw the little receptionist with her glasses on, plugging away at a computer outside the room.
Well,
like it was a medical lab or something.
What I can tell you is that the technology to keep a person's consciousness, or, you want to call it their soul? I don't know.
Right.
I strongly believe that
astral body.
Technology can truly contain someone's soul. If they do not allow that to happen, that's just my opinion. But the consciousness is a branch of the soul, and this much I do know for a fact because of what I witnessed. The consciousness of a person can be maintained in these I can only call them supercomputers. I myself needed some answers on this, and actually confided in Dr. Bill Deagle, who I have spoken with numerous times on the phone. Just conversations between him and I, where I was able to get confirmation on a lot of questions I had because of things that I witnessed, and I couldn't quite put the pieces together to describe them thoroughly. So what you're describing, that's same outcome, different technology. And again, all I can do is express to you what I know for fact, and for fact is that yes, a person's consciousness, when done right with extremely advanced technology, can be kept in a vessel-like state.
Yep, I believe it. I believe it 1,000%. See, the thing for me is there was no movie to influence me. There was nothing to influence what I thought. Like there was no I talk a lot about my prediction for the future personally is sooner or later there's going to be what I call a mass landing of just a gigantic fleet appearing in the sky, making the world stand still. But I could be wrong. But 20 other people said it, and including whistleblowers. Which I thought was this. What do you think of Dan Baruch, by the way? Have you watched his interviews? He said he was a scientist.
You mean Dan Baruch?
Yeah, Baruch. I'm sorry. I always say his name wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Dan.
Yes, Dan Baruch, who talks about Looking Glass and Project Stargate.
Right.
Dan's another person that's been on Project Camelot that's received a lot of scrutiny, and there's been a lot of people talking ill of him. I've only seen one of his interviews, and all I can tell you is that from viewing how he looked, he looked very uneasy in the video, which automatically people go, he looks uneasy, he must be lying. Well, I got the same thing with my first Project Camelot interview, and I was very uneasy, and I was quite nervous about that because, for one, I'd never really been in front of a camera like that before, and two, I have so much information in this head of mine, and it's always going a million miles an hour, and trying to explain things clearly, I'm sure that it gave an appearance to people that I was lying, and, all I can say is that, I wasn't lying. I was being absolutely honest, and the reason I'm saying that is because with Dan Baruch, there are things that he talks about that are absolute truth. Now, I haven't heard all of his interviews, but the only one I heard, and I can only express what I know from that one interview. That one interview gave me no reason to think that he was lying.
Same here. I have one. There's one home run corroboration that hit home with me, and is on an early radio show that I did before he did his interview with Project Camelot. I was telling Bart, who was like my co-host, I told him, I said, I was trying to describe all the different ones, all the different types of aliens I think I saw. And one of them I described as being, they looked like Bratz dolls. They had the big bulbous head like an alien, but they had regular tan skin and big eyeballs with eyelids, and they were actual eyeballs. They weren't like sunglasses covering their eyes like the Greys. And they looked like Bratz dolls, if you know what I'm talking about, for kids. And Dan Burrish, like a month later or a couple of weeks later, on his Project Camelot interview, said he worked directly with those people. And for me, stuff like that, I'm always looking for, because it makes me feel like I'm not so crazy, and it makes me ask myself, how do I know this stuff? You know, was I watching a movie?
Well, you know,
was I watching too many cartoons?
That, and I'll tell you why. Because I had several phone call conversations and face-to-face meetings with Carrie Cassie of Project Camelot prior to going public. And there was one of the things that I was a part of, I was very hesitant on sharing with her simply because I wasn't sure how she was going to take it. I was kind of thinking, listen, I'm going to tell this lady this stuff, and she's going to think I'm out of my damn mind. But something within me said, let it out, Aaron, just tell her. So I did. And I started talking about the Omega Project, the Dolphin-Human Hybrid Program, and how the Dolphin-Human Hybrid programs, because they are indeed in themselves clone, they are not born, they are grown, that they are without a consciousness, without a soul, so to speak. So
Great.
How do you operate something that is flesh and bone without, attaching some kind of remote control mechanical underwater submersible device to it? Well, this is where cross-technology happens, and I'm talking about as far as all the research and everything that was implemented through the original Project Stargate, which became the real Project Stargate, and that was with the remote viewers and the bilocation remote viewers, and what that is basically the bilocation remote viewers, specifically someone that can bilocate remote view, because that's basically splitting your consciousness. It's being in two physical places at the same time, not physical as you can touch them, but I mean more on the conscious level. And what that is basically your consciousness is placed, not completely, but enough into a body, into a vessel to be able to operate it. So I'm explaining this to her, right? And I'm going, okay, and she's sitting there, she's listening, and she's being very receptive to it. Then what happens 6 months later, 7 months later, this movie Avatar comes out, and I'm getting emails from Carrie and others saying, have you seen this? And I did watch the movie, and I'm thinking, oh my God, here they go again. Not exactly, but subliminally putting in absolute technology into mainstream movies, and this happens all the time.
Yep. I agree 1,000%. See, to me, a lot of music and movies, I call them the muse messages, meaning they're planting the seed in your head towards that reality.
They are. I mean, let's look at what's
someone
happened currently. I mean, let's look what's happened in the past couple months. The UFOs over the airports in China, where the airport shut down, this thing, which it looks like it's turned out to be, well, there's a lot of speculation on what that was over New York City. I've heard everything from it was a balloon to it could have been whatever. It doesn't really matter what it was. Look at the buzz that created within the public, and even being on CBS News. Then you have this TV show came out, The Event. There is a lot of stuff happening at a fast rate, and I believe, in my opinion, that it is in order to gear up and to ready the people for something bigger that could be happening. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a year or two, but it's going to happen. And what I'm talking about
Evacuation.
is more of the global elite plan to create the second coming. Call it Project Bluebeam, call it what you will, but it is a last-ditch, the final chapter in the playing cards in order to gain the total control to create the final outcome of the agenda. But
they're going to fail. I'm telling you that right now.
They're going to fail. They're going to fail. They're going to fail. I mean, just because they said it's going to happen doesn't mean that they're going to be triumphant.
They're not. I know it. You know what? Even if it turns out that I'm crazy, that everything I thought was some kind of dream or was planted in my head or something, I still feel in my heart of hearts that they're going to fail. Just based on simple natural law, like it takes more energy to do something negative than positive. So just that alone, just that little simple thing to me points to their failure, no matter how hard they try, you know?
You know, we've got such a squeeze on them right now, and that squeeze is increasing daily. There's more of us in the RFM, and right now they're slowly getting backed into a corner. This is why such things as Codex Alimentarius is really starting to kick in with the GMO and everything. This is why, you know, such as the Gulf Oil false flag event happened, and recently with the Ministry of Defense in the UK talking about that Al-Qaeda is going to attack Spain, Germany, and the UK, and even talking about foreign or domestic terrorism. But these things have been going on long, but we are going to see an increase in these things. We're going to see an increase. They're trying to put the squeeze on us because they want to shut us up. This is a conscious war. Make no mistake about it.
Absolutely.
Make no mistake about it.
My
once we get
family.
That squeeze,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, once we get them in that full Nelson, so to speak, we're going to tap out and we're going to win. It's just a matter of when and how we do it.
Right. And I always saw that up till today as the mass landing. And to me, the mass landing didn't make up one group. It made up a bunch of groups. But, see, you know how they're always talking about the benevolent they won't come and help. They won't hand you the meal on the plate, so to speak.
Right.
They'll direct you in the direction of where the plants are growing, where you can pick them off and eat them yourself, maybe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to me, that's where, like, time travel comes in, because that's the loophole. We can help ourselves, so why can't the future help the past? You know, why can't the future pick a time that's ripe for the taking and to spread love instead of hate and control and greed, to spread euphoria? I personally think after that happens, it's going to become a euphoria, and the only thing to worry about is natural disasters from within Earth, you know, the upheavals, the whatever. I think those are the only kinds of things to worry about in the future, and I think love is going to take a long precedence for thousands of years, and then maybe a cycle. It's just a part of a cycle, and maybe like some of those yogi people say, there is no evil and there is no good, and you know what I'm saying? There's so many different ways of looking at it, but
right.
I think in the end it's all going to turn out nice for the right people, and I think it's manifest destiny for a lot of people. You know, the people who want life to turn out to be hell, they're going to get it because they want it.
Yeah.
And the people who want a beautiful life.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all about creating your own reality, projecting what you want in your own life. If people sit there and they only focus on the negative, only negative things are going to happen to them. But if you have one person that focuses on the positive, they recognize the dangers of what the elite is doing. They recognize the suppression of technology that can heal cancers. They recognize the fact that the government created AIDS and is manipulating everything with food, fluoridating water, that secret technology is hidden, that ancient libraries have been suppressed. Recognize that, but focus that this too shall pass, and that as long as enough people collectively recognize that, and then you build up really instead of the World Wide Web as far as getting by a computer, but more so the Internet of the mind, the collective consciousness.
If the the collective consciousness.
Very, very powerful thing. Free will, self-empowerment, recognizing the entire emotional spectrum is a weapon that the Illuminati fears the most. And everyone on this planet is capable of having that great weapon and using it in a positive way.
Hey, I want to ask you your opinion. What do you think about that talk about there being some kind of invisible grid around the Earth keeping us from having those skills that are sort of suppressing it purposely, because some people say this is the prison planet and we're supposed to suffer and all this. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I don't think, at one time, I don't doubt that humans were used as slaves at one point, but again, this planet is a lot older than what modern scientists and historians, mainstream ones, want to say. Humans have been walking on this planet for a very, very, very long time, but things have happened in shifts, and the world is a big planet. I've heard a lot of theories on that, and a lot with the chemtrails. Chemtrails are used for a wide variety of things. They're not used just for poisoning. They're not used just for weather modification. The technology of chemtrails are just as vast as, say, the difference between different kinds of, computers or cars or whatnot. Now, so to get to your question, I have no doubt from a lot of things that I've looked into, research, even documents that I will be getting revealed here when I'm able to, as far as the Air Force Space Command and their weather modification plans up to 2025. If you look at it now, I do remember being a kid looking up at the sky on a clear day and actually seeing a bright blue. You can go out somewhere where it's clear skies now, and if you're around my age, if you're in your 30s, that's about the good age, or older, 30s and older, think about when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, and remember looking at the sky compared to now. The sky looks different. It looks a lot different. Something has been covered up. Just the other day, we've had a massive heat wave here in Los Angeles for several weeks in the triple digits. It's freaking October, and we've seen no chemtrails at all. The other day, my fiance and I out walking our dog, and what do we see in the sky? Chemtrails. We look at each other, and we both said, in 2 days, we're going to have overcast. That was about 3 or 4 days ago, and it's been completely overcast since. You can almost calculate if you really study and you study how the chemtrails react to the sky in your local area, you can pretty much be your own weatherman.
Well, you know what? I definitely have been aware of them for at least 2 or 3 years now. And, where I live in Pennsylvania, I've seen the crisscross patterns where it just basically turns out to be a grid. I've seen everything. You know what I saw? Not to go off too far off subject. For the first time in my life, I saw a sundog. I didn't even know they existed.
You saw a what?
It's called a sundog. Basically, it's a rainbow in the shape of a perfect circle, and there's 2 of them.
Oh, yes. I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
I saw them for the first time in my life.
Too, I've seen clouds. I don't even want to call them clouds because they were very obviously man-made, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners have seen the same thing. When you're walking down the street and maybe you see a puddle and it's got like that oil sheen in it?
Yes.
You look up, there's times where I've looked up in the sky and it wasn't a rainbow by natural means. It almost as if the clouds themselves had some kind of oily characteristics to it. Now, of course, there is a lot of pollution on this planet because of coal and oil and all that, so that could be, part of it. But, and the other thing, too, that I've noticed, there's been a lot of strange anomalies that I've been seeing and noticing through a lot of my research and witness accounts all over the world. And I'm going to say this, and I'm trying to just think of the right way to put it out. Basically, HAARP, CERN, chemtrails, all the fossil fuels, everything is causing an a really advancing bad effect on the planet. And I do believe and know in my heart that this planet should be considered in itself as a living organism.
Hello?
And I said this the other day on a show I was doing, and I'm going to say it again. If you screw with Mother Nature long enough, Mother Nature's going to screw back. And
Are you back?
Some of these natural disasters that we have seen as of late, yes, some of them definitely have been because of HAARP, but I believe other ones is, in a way, somehow the Earth acting back. I mean, it's no different than if you screw with your own body long enough, putting toxins in your body, treating it like crap, eventually it's going to revolt against you.
Hey, we got a caller. You want to talk? Hold on. Hello, caller? Hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
hi. Who's this?
It's Dennis.
Hello, Dennis. Oh, Aaron, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Dennis, do you have a question?
Oh, yes. Why did I lost my connection?
I still hear you.
Why? I lost my connection
Hello?
before. Am I talking to the...
Yes, you're calling the radio show?
Yes. And which one? And which one?
Is UFO and Time Travel?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to hang up. Sorry about that.
It's all right. I wasn't sure if he knew that maybe it was a wrong number or I don't know. But
what a wrong number to get, Jesus.
That's quite a wrong number. But, I mean, if anyone else that's maybe listening right now, if they want to call, I think the number is up on the page, on your Blog Talk page, right?
Yes, it's definitely up. Yeah, you guys in the chat room, feel free to call in. Sorry, I want to apologize also for not paying attention to the chat room. I've just been engulfed in this conversation, and I just wanted to apologize to you guys in the chat room. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention.
Oh, I wasn't aware you had a chat room. Well, let me just say to everyone in the chat room, thank you for tuning in. It's always appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, we got 28 people listening.
Oh, it's great.
So anyway, where were we? Sorry about that. The caller threw us off.
All right.
I just hope it wasn't, I wasn't, me, throughout my radio shows, I didn't know, I didn't have any real, I guess, I don't know how to say it, intellectual term for these people, so I made a simple, straightforward layman's one. To me, you have the blockers, who are also the controllers, which you can call the elite, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. To me, the simplest way to call them is the blockers and the controllers, because they control lots of stuff, technology, people, so on and so forth. And then they're blockers, because when somebody else steps up and says, hey, look what I got, they swoop in on them like vultures and take it away from them. So
right.
Those are bad guys to me, the blockers and the controllers. And to me, the good guys are, us.
It's just, the good guys, as you say, come in many, shapes and sizes, and man and woman. The real importance is, what their true motives are. Because I have encountered people in the past that claim to be, on our side, as you said, striving for the same goal, and then I later find out that their intentions were not what they had first said. So, people.
Listen.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to interject.
I was just going to say that I'm not telling, I'm by no means telling people to not trust anyone. I'm just saying that sometimes, and I'm just speaking for me, I have to be careful with, who I involve in my life. But that goes back to having serious trust issues, which even to this day I'm still working on. I'm definitely consider myself a work in progress, but I've gotten a lot better in the past year and a half.
Okay. Somebody in the chat room is asking. They said, please ask Arron about his underwater training.
Okay. Well, that all started when I was a kid. I mean, that's pretty. That's a
Project
short
Camelot
question with a
interviews.
long answer. But my underwater training began when I was a kid. I did regular things like any other kids did with as far as swimming and stuff. And yes, I remember going to the lake that we'd go to as a family and going to this river. But that was family stuff. As far as the actual training, like I had mentioned earlier in the show, as far as a lot of cold water submersion, it wasn't necessarily waterboarding, you could say, but being dunked in very cold water multiple times when I was very young. And then getting a little older on trips down to Southern California, going to Catalina Island where I was learning some other things with water as far as, a lot of it started off simple as far as learning how to use scuba gear and snorkeling, and then things really picked up as far as when I was first at the Naval Dolphin Research Center at the Coronado base in San Diego, was starting to work with dolphins.
Arron, not to cut you off, but I have to, because I wanted to say it earlier and the conversation went on and I forgot to say, tell me, do you have any memories of, because you said that you have little bits and pieces of memories of doing space travel, right? And like craft? Okay.
Yes.
Do you by any chance remember being in a place where space was warm and had oxygen, it just didn't have a lot of gravity, where you saw actual whales and dolphins floating in space?
No,
like
but
just
I
outside of a
remember
planet.
being at a place where we could breathe. The atmosphere that was there, I don't know, but and actually being outside and seeing a blue-like sky.
Right. Hazy, very hazy looking?
Any what?
Was it like hazy almost, was it hazy like misty almost in a way? But it was still space, there was still no gravity.
No. I was on firm ground. I wasn't floating in space. Both feet were planted on the ground.
Gotcha. And somebody asked another question saying, asked Arron if he was trained or led to believe he could breathe underwater. I can't breathe underwater. I've since my second Project Camelot interview have been working with water on many different levels, and I cannot breathe underwater. I don't have gills. I'm not, a half man, half fish thing. I do have an experience and a story and some corroboration from a family member, and then unusual stories from both my mother and father, who were very hesitant on sharing things with me and as a child. But anyways, and that goes with a surgical procedure that happened when I was still in my mother's womb. But what I can share is the unusual experience I had happen. I explained when I was like 14, 15 years old at that house that was provided to me and other kids in the program, where it was basically like it was like a kind of a vacation home where it was fully stocked with food, alcohol, and even drugs, and where I had actually dove into the lake. And then when I resurfaced, the other people there were freaking out and scared, and even one guy was in. It felt to me like I had literally dived in, maybe been on for a minute or two, and then came out, and they said I was under for about 12 minutes. And then earlier this year, I was just somehow compelled, almost drawn, to submerge myself in water. It was the first time I'd done it, and I was actually quite nervous about it. There's many reasons why. I did submerge in the water. I had gotten a bathtub with really hot water and dead sea salt, which
is a very, very, I was basically trying to recreate salt water as accurately as I could. I got in the water. There were some times when I don't want to say wake up, I'd open my eyes and I'd be underwater and it felt like I was in there forever. And I was in the bathtub for 4 hours. The water never cooled down. It stayed not hot, but very, very warm for that entire time. But no, I do not breathe underwater.
I was going to say that.
But, hey, like I said, there's no such thing as bad questions. I appreciate any question that is, on that.
Gotcha. Can I ask you something? Have you read any of the Rob Song Rampa books? Like I was just reading one called Three Lives. It was mostly about astral travel and the afterlife after you die. And anyway, I'm reading
I hardly
another
get
book.
time, unfortunately, these days to read books. Mainly when I come across a really good book, like online, because I'm so busy, I will skim through it. I can. It's not speed reading, but I have a way about me where I can go through a document or a book really fast and grasp what the important points, the bullet points on it. As far as those, I don't recall it, but unfortunately, frankly, I just don't have the time to really sit down and read a book.
Well, just the fact that you said that you can skim through them real fast, that you have some type of speed reading ability, just adds to the whole, super soldier thing for me. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, the reason I don't really call it speed reading is because I can't really describe it. I get into this zone. Now, my brother, on the other hand, and he can genuinely speed read, and not just speed read, but he could speed read a very large novel and remember word for word, front to back. My sister is also very, very good at retaining information. That could be something that's merely genetics. I haven't really looked in that one, but I definitely seem to be able to pick up, and I can hold a lot of data within me, but when it comes to uploading that data and getting it out of my damn mouth, sometimes that part seems to malfunction at times.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. There's a million things that have gone through my mind since we started talking, and I think I've only maybe spoken of maybe half of it, if that, and it's just because the conversation's going in all these crazy ways, which I like. I think this is going great so far, and anyway, the book I brought up.
I was just going to say real quick, I like to do interviews or shows like this where it's not necessarily scripted beforehand, because you never know what's going to pop up. Call it a download, like something's been downloaded into you or something just happens to come up. But I strongly believe that everything that you and I have shared so far, even though we didn't really talk about it before the show, it happened because it was supposed to happen this way.
Yep, I believe that too. I'm surprised my friend Shep isn't here, because he considers himself to be a very clairvoyant person, and I kind of backed off the whole research thing for a couple of years because I felt comfortable with all the stuff that I found and all the information, and I was just kind of keeping up with it, but not being so, going nuts researching and reading everything like I used to do. But anyway, Shep turns around and tells me, he's like, man, he goes, don't think it's over, man. He goes, it's nowhere near over, and this is happening. We're talking right now because we're supposed to be, and things are gonna go forward the way they go because they're supposed to. I don't know what made him say it, but he was very because we were video conferencing, and he looked right at me and said, "Don't think it's over, man."
Yeah,
not.
That's very true. Well, I know that we've got about 40 minutes left. I wasn't sure what you wanted to talk about, but if anyone else wants to call in, and I'll just say here, since I got in front of me, the number is 718-664-6576, or if you're in the chat room, you want to ask either of us a question.
Somebody says they're on hold. I'm sorry, I got somebody. I got a caller.
Okay,
sorry, man. Hello, caller?
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Who's this?
Okay, great. Yeah, I came across your show. I'm a bit curious here. So you say you were involved with time travel. Where exactly did you go to, or what time, and why did the government want to send you there?
Are you talking to me?
Well,
whoever is involved with time travel.
Are you asking?
Well,
are you
it's
asking
Aaron's
me?
show, so Aaron, you answer.
Okay, well, I mean, that part is still something that I'm really trying to figure out, because that is one of the smallest things I've really looked into. I haven't gone too much into that yet. And all I can say with that is that the testimonial that I got from Dave Corso was that I was much younger, maybe around the ages of 10 and 12. I don't have any memories of going to a facility and, traveling to somewhere. All I can express is the memories that I have of being where I was at. And again, the memories are very flashy, very foggy. It would be foolish of me to say, yes, this absolutely happened. I went here. They did this to me. I came back. When I talk about that, the reason I share that is because it relates directly to what happened to me later on, and having someone who I hadn't talked to in, 8-9 years, then comes to me and says, hey, Aaron, do you remember this or that happening? And without me, telling them that this, they weren't, I didn't give them any information so that they could, say, oh, yeah, I didn't give them anything to twist
capitalize on.
Yeah. Right, to capitalize on. So it's a hard question to answer, and I apologize I didn't answer it direct, that's the best answer I can give you.
Okay. Well, thanks. So are you involved a lot with UFO research then?
Well, I mean, you could say I'm kind of a novice UFO researcher. I mean, by no means am I an expert, but I have a network of people that are much more knowledgeable of that. And
you don't know
the only, when I give information about, when I give information about UFOs, it's either tied in with my experience or things that have been directly told to me by, very acclaimed UFO researchers that are friends and people that I've had on my own show.
Yeah. Okay, so why is the government covering this up? What do you...
Control. It's all about control, man.
What's that?
That's why.
But a lot of people believe in aliens, though, so I don't understand why they think it's so important to do it.
Well, the reason why the direct relationship that not just the United States government, but other governments around the world do not disclose this information is because when one piece of information is revealed that is on such a high level as this, the chips will fall, create a domino effect, because then people will go, well, if the United States government has known about UFOs, what else they know about of this stuff that's been labeled conspiracy theory? What about HAARP? What about what CERN really does? What about chemtrails? What about suppressing technology such as free energy? What about cures for cancer and the fact that the United States government created AIDS and all these other things?
Autism. It's
fear-based, really. If they release one, eventually they're going to have to release the rest. And then the American people and the citizens of the planet do not, we shouldn't have to rely on them in any ways, but they lose their control, and we gain the control that we deserve and that we're entitled to.
Yeah, exactly. I've said that in the past myself. I agree with you 1,000%. It's sooner or later, it's going to become power to the people, and the community is going to rule itself, and it's going to be a global community and not, hey, I'm an American, hey, I'm a this, hey, I'm a that. Everybody's going to be together. It'll happen.
Yes.
You'll see.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good thing, except we need to have a global community based on conservative values. Barack Obama sucks. Yes, he does. Nigger.
Listen, man. To me, in my eyes, every president's puppet, and They're under control. They just they're if they're an actor, their role is to act out the president, and that's it. It's that simple. I mean, I had a chance meeting myself in 91 or 1990, where I met two girls who claimed to be George Bush Jr.'s daughters on Staten Island, New York, at Wolf's Palm. These girls could have been lying, but that's what they told me they were. And they knew their father was going to be president. They said, "Yeah, my father's going to be president in like 8 years or something." I don't know. They were both, it was a cake party. I was like 18. They were like 14 or something. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, I could be blowing smoke at you, but I feel pretty confident in saying that really happened, and it was just a weird thing because everything they said jived. They said where they were staying, like, yeah, we're staying up in Toad Hill, and that's like the rich section, and they just knew. And all these people know. If you heard about the Bilderberger meetings and all those meetings from like Prison Planet articles and stuff, you'll see. But you know what? That's still to me smoke and mirrors. The big picture, to me, Arron, where Arron's coming from, that's the big picture. To me, that's
really
the stuff you got to be aware of.
I just want to say this real quick. I really like what the caller said about a global community, because the wording in that alone is a great thing, and I want to thank him for saying that. The powers that be, the global elite, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they want a one-world government. There are documents that prove this. Genuine government, U.S. field-approved documents that prove this. You have the Council for Foreign Relations, the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the European Union, the UN, and more that have had meetings, councils about discussing this. The global community, I like that. That's good because it's not. That goes with the collective consciousness,
Absolutely.
I really like that, so I want to thank him for saying that.
Well, Arron, I want the credit for it because I said it. He was responding to what I said. I'm sorry. The voice. I'm on the other side here, and I wasn't hearing names. But so yes, the global community. Thank you for saying that. But for whoever said it, it's a wonderful praise, and it's an idea that we should all strive for. That's I agree 1,000%. But you know what? I think that we're getting to the point where we are, where technology has to meet with our I don't know, I guess the best word would be love or level of or collective consciousness where, sooner or later everybody's going to get on the same page and there's not going to be this whole secret society mess thing that's been happening for God knows how long. And not for nothing, I mean, you said in one of your interviews, Arron, you said that a lot of these elite people that are humans are basically subservient to some other extraterrestrial presence, that they're just basically, that even though to you they're a leader, to them they're just another servant, and to me, I believe that that's not far from the truth. See, a lot of people, a lot of meat and potatoes people, when you start talking about the possibility of extraterrestrials controlling the president of the United States or the European Union or whatever, automatically you're crazy, and I think people got to get that out of their head and realize that anything is possible, and reality isn't always what you see. I mean, all I'm saying is, look at free energy, look at all the things that are being, I remember you talking about the whole, the Gulf, the false flag operation with the Gulf and the oil, the BP thing.
Yes.
And I when you said that, to me, that's it's like hearing it in my mind for the 1,000th time when you said, yeah, that's false flag. They have the technology to clean up quick. They're just covering it up, and they don't want the world to start asking questions. And when you say stuff like that, I'm like, I'm right there with you, thinking to myself, yep. It's to me, that's practically a given,
Yeah. Well, and two, I need to emphasize this to people. And again, there are some things that happened late, and I'm not able to on a massive scale, provide all the documentation that I have. But here soon, within the next couple of weeks, what I'm going to be doing is launching something on a new website, and everyone globally is going to have access to it, and it is government documents on covering many different things, from Operation Condor to the Gulf Oil false flag event to Project Bluebeam, Project Montauk, the European Union, the Illuminati, and more. And so what I'm getting at is these documents are for people to look at. And I want people to understand that the things I talk about, I'm not blowing smoke up their rear. I'm talking about things that I was a part of, or things that I've witnessed, or things that I have, I don't want to say uncovered because I'm sure others have uncovered them, things that I rediscovered myself or came across of these documents that indeed back up the things that you have said, the things I have said, the things that George Green has said, the things that Dr. Bill Deagle has said, and many, many others. I feel it's important that people see these because a lot of people, it's one thing to hear information. It's another thing to see information that backs up what has been said. That is very important. That's what I feel is something that people need to see. And even furthermore, not just all the dark stuff, because I don't want to focus on the dark, the bad stuff going on. I'm also going to be providing many books in ebook form and other documents such as growing your own backyard gardens, how to build your own water collection system for your house, books making your own herbal medicines and such things as like the lighter side, metaphysics, learning how to astral project, learning how to remote view and such things. Basically simply providing information that is out there so that people can discover within themselves what they are capable of.
Yep. You know what? I haven't heard you say it, but what I think you're getting at, Arron, is you're telling people, you know what? This is what I got to say. You don't have to take my word for it. You should just go out there and seek your own truth.
Exactly. This is what's important, and thank you for saying that. I've never once said that people absolutely have to believe what I say. I'm simply asking that what I have shared, go out there and look for it yourself. If it proves me wrong, it proves me wrong. So far I haven't been proven wrong yet, but that's not to say I'm a big enough person that if someone proves me wrong, I will say, okay, I was shown this, and I'll even post that on the Facebook or whatever and say, hey, someone just showed me this. I had no idea. I'm sorry. Here's the real story behind it.
I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
But yes, simply putting all the information out on a very large table and allowing people to pick for themselves. And the other important thing, it's kind of like modern educational system, which I completely cannot stand. These kids go to school, and they are told what is fact, what is right, and if they stray from that, they're going to wind up with an F, and they're going to flunk, and they're going to feel belittled, and they're going to feel stupid, and they're going to feel like they failed, and their parents, not saying all parents, but maybe their parents are going to ground them or whatever. That's not how education should happen. Education should be the motivation of oneself saying, I want to seek this out because I want to learn more from it. If a person doesn't at least try to learn something new every day, whether it's large or small, they're not serving themselves any good, which in turn may not serve anyone else any good. This is all ties back to the collective consciousness.
Yep. And that's what these people are trying to block. It is a spiritual warfare. Yes. It is just like, I know I sent you a link. I don't know if you, and I understand if you didn't. That guy, Michael Tazarian, he's been saying it for years. It's a war on consciousness. It's a...
And he's absolutely right. It is a war on consciousness.
They're not just attacking you physically. They're attacking your mind. And they're doing a great job of it. They're kicking ass. I mean, look at the news. Look at
Gerardo, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think the greatest method the global elite has for creating and maintaining massive mind control?
Propaganda, the media.
Well, but what does that propaganda and that media do? It creates fear. What did 9/11 do?
Yes,
It created
fear is the biggest tool.
What did the 7/7
Absolutely.
created fear? What did really finally back, really getting kickstarted 10 years ago, bringing Al-Qaeda to light to the public? It invoked fear. When you invoke fear, you then do things like you create the Patriot Act, the Department of Homeland Security, TSA, and more, and then the people are fearful, and then they go, oh, thank you, United States government, for creating these things to protect me. It's all bull. We don't need the Patriot Act.
Listen.
We don't need Homeland Security. We don't need TSA. I mean, yes, there are people out there that are genuinely evil, that may not, that want to hurt people. So I'm not saying wipe out security altogether. I'm not saying that, especially coming from a military background. I'm simply saying the way they created Homeland Security, the reasons behind how TSA came to light in the Patriot Act, it all fear-based. Once they create the fear, they draw them in with all this protection, and then these people then become sheeple.
Right, and I was saying this to Bart too, that people end up sort of micromanaging themselves because since they planted the seeds in these groups of people's minds, now they're all handling it on their own, perpetuating it on their own. I mean, I go into Manhattan every day, and I see, National Guards with automatic rifles on like a daily basis, and
right.
It's plain, it's obvious. We got another caller. Do you want to take it? Hello, caller from the 305 area. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. This is a guy in chat named Mach20X, but Michael is fine. Herb. Actually, there's the X on it. Hey, yeah, I just put something here. I was going back to the whole idea. You said that you really hate the educational system the way it is, and I couldn't agree more. There's some stuff that I put on my Facebook profile. I'm sure you could see it if you had a chance to get to it, but it's just stuff from Ken Robinson, and there was another article from Scientific American. It was just talking about some of the rife problems with the educational system. But I put a comment in there recently about what was it? About getting back to the Socratic idea of education, basically educing those ideas from the a priori, and I think a good way to do that seems to be like sacred geometry. That activates both sides of the hemisphere of the brain, and
sure does.
It seems to be a great way to work. Do you know if there's any way that, whenever we get the website back up and running, is there any way that we could put a section in there for like education, kind of streamlining the whole thing, putting bullet points in and trying to refine that maybe?
Absolutely. The more content we can add, the better. And I'm glad you said that. Yes, the children today, and you see it more and more. I have many friends now that homeschool their children, or if their children go to public school, they are watched over carefully by their parents because they're, maybe the parents unfortunately don't have time to homeschool them because this is, in the world we live in, usually both parents have to go to work full time. But
yeah,
homeschooling, I'm a very supportive of, and you can see that the government of the United States doesn't want that because there are states now where it's illegal to homeschool, such as North Carolina. But yeah, to answer that question, I would be more than happy to link up something, however, to basically maybe direct people to, do-it-yourself websites or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, can I interject? Okay. And thanks caller for calling in. That was a great question.
No problem.
Okay, and I just wanted to interject that I'm a parent. I'm a parent of 4 kids, and my 2 oldest are 15 and 13. And that every day they come and tell me about another kid that jumped ship from school and went to cyber school. That it's almost happening, and they're saying the school that it's happening at a record rate this year of kids saying, screw this, or the parents really, not even just the kids, because usually the parents don't listen to the kids. The parents are listening to the kids and pulling them out of cyber school. Now, my dilemma is a little the opposite. I offered it to my kids, and they don't want it, where I now use it as a tool. Right? They say, oh, I don't want to get up. And I'm like, I don't want to get up either and drive you. But, you want to go to the cyber school? They're like, no. I'm like, wow, I can't. I'm like blown away by it. But they run my kids. I just want to say, I worked in Pennsylvania. I worked for Monroe County as a computer tech, and I went around upgrading all the computers in all different branches of the departments. And I went and did the prison systems. I went and replaced all the people in the prison's computers. The office workers, not the prison inmates, but the office workers. And they run schools just like fucking prison, man. Excuse my French, excuse my language, but that's how I see it. When I go to that school, I'm talking to the guard.
Yeah, they absolutely
I can't even see my own kid. If there's a family emergency and I got to go pull my kid out of school, I have to come. I have to come prepared with 8 pieces of ID, and I have to give them a reasoned signed statement of why I want my kid out, and it doesn't feel like freedom anymore to me.
It's ridiculous, and they're your children. And, kids now in the United States, they spend more time in school than even just, 10 years ago. And even Obama himself is saying how he wants to extend the school year. He's already been extended here in California. They go to school earlier. I believe they get out around the same time, but their summer was cut by a month. Kids should be allowed to be kids. School these days are so stressful and demanding and completely out of control. But at the same time, I want to say this one more time. There are parents out there that have no choice. And I understand that because of the system that's been developed, they have no choice. So I don't want parents out there to think that I'm saying that they're bad people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just simply stating what my opinion is and, what is factual as well. And that,
also, Yeah. Listen, you know what it boils down to? The active parent. And you can think about it in a spiritual sense. If the parent blindly sends their kid to school, doesn't pay attention, never helps them with their homework, never gets involved, never talks to the teacher to get feedback from the teacher, or vice versa, if none of that stuff is going on, then and I definitely got to give credit to my wife for that, because especially I have one son who has autism, and if it wasn't for us communicating back and forth at school, we'd be like this woman who came to us crying for help because they were treating her son wrong. And her son was coming home. Wow. He had autism. He's coming home flipping out every day. And my wife stepped in and told her what she needed to do, what she needed to say, and helped this lady out, and now things changed. So sometimes you got to be involved and get into your community, and it's that simple. You meet the teachers. They're humans too. But if you come at them the wrong way, then things are going to turn out negative, but sometimes you can't control that. Sometimes things turn out negative anyway. I mean, I can give you a million stories like that, but the bottom line is I think it can go both ways, but I see nothing wrong with kids learning at home, cyber school, homeschooling. I see nothing wrong with none of that stuff. I like I said, I offered it to my own children.
Right.
But somehow they didn't want to take
it. Giving kids choices is essential as well. I mean, it's so I can't stand the fact that in modern society, it's children have been labeled as dumb and all that. Yeah, I mean, you can say there's been a dumbing down of society globally, and not saying that everyone's dumb, but what I more mean is the nature of the beast with all the toxins and the mind control and rubbish on TV. I don't even own a TV. I refuse to watch TV. I don't even go watch movies. I mean, If I want entertainment, I will find what I want to watch on the internet. Even with TV to this day, I've witnessed people that will freak out because, like, oh my God, my show's at 7 p.m. I got to drop everything and go. Or, thank God I got TiVo, so I can't forget this. It's like they've been a slave to the scheduling of TV. This is why stuff is put into prime time network, and this is why you have your daily show, where, like, here in Los Angeles, their idea of news is talking about the latest and greatest with this celebrity or that celebrity. It's just
sensationalism.
Rubbish.
It's all sensationalism. Yeah. And we got 2 callers, by the way, Aaron.
Okay.
Let's see. We got a new guy, and I'm going to put him on right now. Hello, caller from 850 area code. What is your name and what's your question? Hello? You there? Oh, I guess not. Sorry about that. I got another caller. Hold on. I think he's the one from earlier.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, caller. Hello.
Yes, no, I was not. I was not on earlier, but I want to speak about something. When I was working for the German intelligence services, how do you say? We involved with some activities similar to what you speaking about earlier. I see another person talking in the chat here about that. There are actually records showing that the Nazis had contact with the extraterrestrials and the meeting between Hitler and one of their leaders. I wonder you hear anything about that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. There's a woman. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go with this, Aaron?
Well, well, I could just say that, yes, I have heard about that, and I am aware and have seen, real photos and, again, documentation, thanks to a lot of researchers that I'm connected with, as far as the shared technology that the Germans have when they were working with, more of the free energy and a lot of the craft and everything that they were working on that then was sent elsewhere, such as the United States and even so far as Antarctica, where a lot of stuff was tested out and then base was established. So I am aware of that as well, yes.
And there's a woman, she has a book. You know what? I'm going to have to post it later. Actually, I might set up an interview with her. Her name's Desiree Natolo. She's from Africa, and she has a book talking about that French guy, the Raelian guy. I forget his name. And she says exactly what you just said. She said that the Dracos came and visited Hitler, and they consistently visited him and put his plan into action for exactly what he was doing. And she's saying that this outside source came and helped Hitler. And she's saying the next in line is this Raelian guy from France. I forget his name. But, I mean, when you go to his website, you can't help. To me, it's comedy. But, if people believe him, they say he has 50,000 followers growing. I don't know. When I go to his website, it's a comedy. But that's what they're saying. So exactly what you're saying, caller, I heard the same exact thing through this woman's book. Yeah. And she swears up and down to the grave because I emailed her asking her questions about her book because I've read a whole bunch of books, and I'm kind of comparing notes with all of them.
His name is Claude Vollion.
There you go. That's the guy.
Yes, yeah. I've heard of him too. But like I said, I've read these documents. I've seen them, and I don't understand why people try and act like this is not true. The evidence, the proof is in the pudding, as you say in America. They've not got the technology from there. I've even seen evidence to back up the fact that there is a Aryan type of race who wanted them to push this agenda on Earth here. I mean, you have
they're called the Dracos. According to the story, this is the same story in multiple places, is the Dracos came and they called themselves the Nephilim, and they started building human type clones, or they started breeding humans in a scientific manner, altering them, and they made this race of people, and supposedly we're products of it today. And the bottom line to me is, you know what? If these are the same people who, let's say, are turning people like Arron into super soldiers, if these are the people doing all this elite stuff and all this stuff, if this is them, then they're the the wizard behind the curtain, so to speak. If this is true, you know what I mean?
So do you say, I think those of us who are would be considered, I suppose, Aryan? Do you think we would descend from some alien origin that they created us?
Well,
Yes, they said that they. I'm sorry, you go, Arron. You go.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say there were several alien off-world beings that came to this planet a very long time ago. Most humans to this day, if not all of them, have at least some have some minute level of alien DNA in them. The Canadian research facility in Canada did research on this and even went public and said that they found alien, all they said was alien, in quotation mark, alien DNA in humans, and that information got completely covered up. I don't believe it was just, one race. From a lot of things that I've seen, research, and then things I've witnessed myself within the operations I was a part of, people with Aryan blood, Nordic blood, even the origins of Africa, specifically Southern Africa with the Anunnaki, and elsewhere. There's even a story of interbreeding that occurred. I don't remember the exact story. Something I talked with Jonathan Gray about some months ago, as far as that ship that had crashed in China like 12,000 years ago.
Right,
and then, this local tribe was found of these men that were shorter, and they had these records that actually described it that were thousands of years old. So it's no different than many things. Not just one race came here, and not just one race had the technology. Many races had the technology. It's no different than one car company designs a new type of engine. Eventually, that technology is going to get leaked, and next thing you know, all these other car companies are going to be designing something similar to that.
I agree with you 1,000%, Arron. I think that some people came and left their mark.
One closing comment, please. I have one concern with what you said there. You say that we have the alien DNA, but I'm a bit confused. How exactly do we have the alien DNA when it seems like alien are, very, you say, homosexual? They like to anal probe. I don't see how they would, give us...
Well, that's the whole... I'm not quite sure about the whole anal probe thing. People talking about how they were anal probed or whatever. Maybe that's happened, but, I've never had anyone come to me and say, hey, I was abducted and aliens poked my anus. But I was simply stating merely that that indeed... I do believe that the core of humans a very, very long time ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, were developed through, you could say, more biogenetic technology.
And did aliens, do they believe in abstinence, or do they do before, or what do they do?
Well, it depends on your the way you look at it. It depends on, what story do you want to believe? I mean, there's a million stories out there. Pick your poison on which one. You know what I'm saying? All you can do is do your own research and get your answer. If you're asking for an opinion from us, if they go around doing anal probes, I'm sure a million people have said that that's happened supposedly. Which, if they're doing that, then all I can say is thank goodness I haven't experienced it. That's all I can say.
Don't knock it till you try it. It's very pleasurable.
Oh my God! All right, thank you, caller. That was fantastic. You know what? I don't ever want to wake up and go to the bathroom with it just falling out. I don't need that.
I don't think anyone needs that.
No, thank you. Well, I couldn't. Do you think that guy's accent was real? By the way,
You know, I mean,
Aaron?
it was a little bit fuzzy on my side of things, but you know, it's easy. I don't want to say that person was making up his accent because he could be genuine, and you know, the fact that he called in and talked about things are absolutely
good
true
question,
as far as the Nazis work with alien technology. Everything was said. So I just want to say good for him and thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I just thought, you know, I don't know. He made me laugh, though. I got a good hearty laugh out of that. Oh, that was
I
great.
always love getting good callers like that when I'm on a show.
It's better than the last guy. This guy once calls me. He's like, oh, I see something in the air. Oh, it's a donut. I'm like, what the? Okay, thank you, caller. Goodbye.
Take all kinds, you know, you never know. Maybe he'll tune in again at another point and he'll hear something and actually want to ask a real question.
I got another guy, the same guy who called earlier, who we hung up on. Should I try him again?
Yeah, it looks like we've got about 5 minutes. What the heck?
All right. Hello, sir.
Hello?
Caller, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to say something about the guy that called before.
Okay.
About this alien stuff. I come from Germany. I come from New Berlin. And
Okay.
I don't know why he's saying this secret thing all about. You know what I mean?
What's so secret about? Why should it be a secret? Who is anybody to decide that for us? Thank you, sir. Okay, I got another call. You ready, Aaron?
Okay,
Aaron?
I'm ready.
Got another call. Hello, caller from the 479 area code.
Yes, hello.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Aaron and the host both. Aaron, I want to say I'm very proud that you've come out, and this is the second interview I've heard where you've come on to a radio or a computer program to bring so much of this out to light because people do need to know. I do believe you, and there's so much to back you up when you really start digging.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that information, and I do appreciate everything that you've done. And I just wanted to tell you that because so much of it is kind of swept under the rug, and they want to, leave you in the dark, you yourself as well as others. So I just wanted to give you some encouragement and tell you that I appreciate your efforts very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, and the host as well. I appreciate your efforts too to bring on Aaron. Invite him and others as well to get this information out to us. So thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll let y'all go now. Bye.
Thank you very much. See, I what I love about people like that is they have nothing but love to share.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about to me. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
To when somebody like that comes on, she just made this whole show worth it totally just now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was very, very nice.
And believe it or not, my brother has a question.
Okay.
Rick! Come here, what's the question? Oh, my brother wants to know what your thoughts are on the spirals over Norway and over Europe.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I have time to answer that completely, but as far as the one over just Norway specifically, in my opinion, that was not a benevolent being, shining down a signal or something. Just because of its location over Oslo, Norway, with the Doomsday Vault being there, that's also a very sacred place with the Illuminati and everything. I think that was in some way maybe something to have to do with Project Bluebeam or something with that. More of this gearing up that I've talked about.
Cool. Well, he went back to his room to listen, but I hope that answered his question.
Okay. Well, I mean, he can always
personally
contact me through. He can always contact me through Facebook, and I can give him a more in-depth answer to that one. I'd be happy to do that.
Cool. Yeah, it's my brother Rick. He's on my Facebook. You'll find him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised he listened. Usually he's like, yeah, I'll listen, and but wow, thanks for listening, Rick.
That's
my
great.
brother's just starting to pick up. He used to think I was crazy. I don't think he does anymore, though.
Oh,
okay,
that's good.
the show ended, Aaron. Just so you know, we're not streaming anymore. The show's not live, but we're still recording.
All right. Cool. So, I guess, are we wrapping it up then, or?
Sure, sounds good. I mean, whatever we're saying now is just going to be on the recording when people play it back. When people go and visit the show to download it, and,
Yeah, that's great, because I want to add this show to my list of interviews I've done and post that up, and I want to post also, once we hang up and you stop recording, I assume it'll be archived and so that people can listen to it later on.
Yeah, usually within like a half hour to an hour, it's ready for download.
Okay, sounds good.
But Aaron, I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. Seriously, I think we've definitely made some kind of connection, and I feel really good about it, and I think I made a new friend. What can I say?
Well, it's always great to connect with more people and make new friends, and I want to thank you very much, Renato, for having me on the show. It was a pleasure. And,
no problem.
if you ever want me to have me come on again, I'd be happy to. And, thanks again for the opportunity to be able to discuss these things.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure. And thanks for, listening to me as well, because, I feel like I'm, I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm an experiencer myself, and I'm looking for answers just like you. You know what I mean? And
I agree. You know what? Only time will tell, and if it's something that you feel deep within you that it did indeed happen, as long as that's the way you feel, then don't worry about what others may think. Just trust within yourself, and everything else will fall into place accordingly.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks for saying that, and I do. I believe that 100% myself, because, well, you know what? I've found quite a bit of corroboration to my own story, and I've only gone over like a fraction of what it is, and I'd be more than happy to talk about more later. And let's definitely set up another show for down the road. Maybe in like a month or something, just for fun, just to get some more off the chest. For me, anyway. That's how I feel.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll just give me a couple of days to take care of some of that things, and then we'll get something scheduled.
Sounds awesome. And I just also want to say that this for me was very therapeutic. It always is. And I hope it was for you.
That's good. You know what? It is for me, too, because the more I talk about this, the more I really start to come to terms with what happened to me when I was part of what I did. And also it really helps reaffirm with what I'm doing now. So thank you.
No problem, man. And that's pretty much it, Aaron. Again, I will thank you for coming on the show, being on the show, answering everybody's questions, and being a stand-up, straightforward person, which you very much seem like. And rock on, brother. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I think you're heavy metal, so I'm just going to say rock on. Because I'm heavy metal.
Well, you have a good night, and I will be in touch with you soon.
All right, bro. And I definitely want that help from you as far as the bi-directional Jesus Christ.
My location remote viewing. I will help you with that. Not a problem. I'll get you some information.
I want to video record it. I want to YouTube it.
Okay.
All right, Aaron, man. Have a great night, and I'll Facebook you, brother.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
I'll talk with you later.
All right, man.
Bye.
Bye.